Funimation is becoming Crunchyroll. Yep. I'm as surprised as you are. I was expecting it to go the other way. But that does mean that there's going to be a lot of changes to the world of anime streaming over the next 12 months. So stick around and I'll tell you how that's going to impact all of us.
Kawaii-Fi!
Konnichiwa, it's Kyle here, and yeah, a bit of a different style of video this week because I needed to talk about this. But yes, because of the changes that are happening at Funimation and Crunchyroll, all of the anime that's been on Funimation is apparently making its way over to Crunchyroll in drips and drabs, not all at once. So this is going to be a very interesting few months as we see how this changes. Now there's a lot to unpack here. It's not as straightforward as it seems because there's rights and issues and all that, but there's actually a little bit of interesting history that's been guiding this through the background. So I guess first things first, what has actually happened? So you might have heard that Crunchyroll was bought out by Funimation last year. And what's happened is they've decided that the Crunchyroll brand, by the sounds of it, is the stronger brand. They're going to adapt that and use that as their main brand going forward worldwide. So anything that's related to Funimation, so whether that's Funimation's actual streaming service, whether that is Wakanim, which is the European arm of it, whether that was Anime Lab, which is now Funimation, which is now going to be Crunchyroll here in Australia, it's all going to come underneath the Crunchyroll brand. Now, that's a good thing for viewers. That's fantastic because all the anime, for the most part, is going to be in the one location. It's got some other questionable things which we'll get into later, but for the most part, once we heard that Funimation was acquiring Crunchyroll, everyone was a bit worried what this could mean. This is the best outcome from it so far from what we can tell. So basically this does mean that the Funimation brand is ultimately going to be retired. And that does mean that anything Funimation related, so that includes those classic Funimation openers we see at the beginning of the anime on Funimation streaming services, the changes that they were planning for Funimation's pricing and so on last year, the changes to how Funimation's store was going to run, all of that's kind of been put on the back burner. So we will see a lot more stuff announced. Apparently nothing's going to change if you've got an order through the Funimation store. But this does bring up an interesting question because it's who's now calling the shots? Because we've got Funimation, who are based in Dallas, Texas, and you've got Crunchyroll that's based over in LA. Now there's a whole load of things which we'll get into regarding voice acting and unions in a little bit, and we're not getting overly political, that's not what we do on here. But the good news that I found out is that Crunchyroll's new CEO, which is Colin Decker, he was previously the CEO of Funimation up until this point. So he's going to oversee all of it. Now you might be going, that sounds bad. No, because he was previously Crunchyroll's COO before they were bought by AT&T. So that's good because back during when he was in charge before 2018, things at Crunchyroll were going really well. So AT&T, who are the former parent company now that Sony, aka Funimation Global owns them, aka Crunchyroll Global owns them. Before that, they were owned by a company called Otter Media. So basically everything's kind of shifted underneath the one brand and then taken on the Crunchyroll brand with Funimation CEO in charge. So does that mean the LA office is in charge or the Dallas office is in charge? We're not sure. And considering Colin Decker is based in LA, I'm hoping there's going to be the Crunchyroll office, but we'll see what happens in the coming months. Now, they did have a press release come out for this, and I'll read a bit what Colin said, which was unifying all of our brands and services under the Crunchyroll brand globally enables us to offer more value than ever before as we combine subs, dubs, simulcasts, library, music, movies, and manga all into one subscription. Now, apparently this means that there's going to still be the same offerings that we would get on Crunchyroll, no removal of the mangas that you can get, because at the moment you can read My Hero Academia, for instance, live. As it comes out in Japan, it's translated and ready to go on the Crunchyroll manga app shortly after it's gone out in the magazine in Japan. Now, Funimation Global Group, which is the holding company which runs and holds all of Funimation underneath its banner, is now going to rename itself to Crunchyroll LLC. And it's initiated rebranding all of its global footprint. So it's all going to be Crunchyroll worldwide. There will not be any Funimation left. There will not be any Wakanim left. So what does this mean for users? There's a lot of questions up in the air at the moment as what this is actually going to mean for us. So let's start out with the easiest one straight away. Is everything on Crunchyroll now? No. So a lot of series have moved over already, but they're predominantly dubs or existing series which have had a right sharing agreement in the past. So it's mostly dubs, so things like My Hero Academia, Fire Force, Reincarnated as a Slime, Dr. Stone, they've all moved over, but most of them already had the subtitle version on Crunchyroll. So those dubs will then now be available as of now. The rest of the catalog is going to move over as well, apparently, but there's no set date yet for when the full library goes over. Apparently it's going to be like a day-to-day trickle, so every day or 2 days more stuff will be added from the Funimation platform onto the new solidified Crunchyroll platform. Also, all future anime simulcasts, so what we get live each season, are going to premiere exclusively on Crunchyroll, so they won't be going to Funimation anymore. If you're watching something on Funimation which is 12 episodes through of a 24 episode season, that season will run till its end on Funimation. So if it's still going through till next season, then yeah, you'll still be able to watch it there. But after that, no more new content on Funimation, which is basically what happened when Funimation took over Anime Lab here in Australia. They said, okay, you've got to move to Anime Lab. All your content on Anime Lab is still active for a few months, but it won't be getting new content. And that's probably the same approach that they're going to do here. I think Anime Lab was basically the test case. And they realized that they upset quite a lot of people when they did that. So that's what the next point is. Can we use our Funimation account on Crunchyroll? Well, apparently the answer is not yet. So Funimation are suggesting that you should start a new subscription over at Crunchyroll. Now, if you're already a subscriber to Funimation, Wakanim, VRV, we're apparently going to get a voucher in the next few days. It says by March 8th, which gives us 63 days of Crunchyroll Premium. Now, that's only for new accounts. So if, like myself, you have a Crunchyroll and a Funimation account, you get no benefit from that voucher. Which is kind of par for the course. We saw what they did it with the Macca's Monopoly here. Like, you get a voucher and it's valid for 60 days on a new account only, which is, you know, not very helpful. Your watch history and your Funimation digital copies, so that's like the digital versions of movies. If you buy the version that Funimation released on Blu-ray or DVD, it normally comes with a voucher code that you can redeem in Funimation to use online and watch anywhere. That will not be transferred for now. So they're working on that according to the press release, and transferring people's watch history from one system, and Funimation's system is quite broken, into Crunchyroll's system, which is a very different system, is probably going to take them quite a while. So the question of should you cancel your subscription to Funimation once you get your Crunchyroll voucher, it's not clear. If you've got a massive watch list, if you've got lots of digital films, then maybe hold off just until we find out how long it's going to take and what they're going to do with it. If you don't have much on there, if you've already watched your watch list and you're good to go, then yeah, go for it. There's no point to stick around on Funimation after this season ends, basically. Is Crunchyroll becoming more expensive, and what about watching with advertising? Crunchyroll's existing tiers are apparently staying in place. There's been no word on the cost changes or anything like that. It still says it's going to be the same tiers as they are now. Whether that will change once the merge is complete, unsure. The big question is this the death of advertisement-funded anime viewing? Because at the moment on Crunchyroll, you can go on and there are a lot of series you can watch for free if you watch an advert. And they've specifically avoided mentioning that. So that's something that I think a lot of us are going to be interested in seeing. I know Sony isn't a big fan of advertisement-funded revenue for anime, so I would not be surprised if it slowly gets phased out over the next few years. It's likely not going to apply to any new shows or dubs. I mean, dubs straight up you can't watch for free anyway. So that's possibly going to be phased out. It might mean the only way to watch it is through Premium, or you can only watch the first episode without subscribing to Premium. So what's going to happen to Funimation? Will it shut down and disappear? This hasn't been explicitly said, but yes. The whole company is rebranding into Crunchyroll, and in all likelihood, this means the death of the Funimation brand. And they did this with Anime Lab. They slowly took all of Anime Lab and turned it into Funimation style branding. They moved it so that it was a bit more, I guess, directional to Funimation. So if you logged into Anime Lab after Funimation had started the transition, you would see the previews for all of the new season, and it says only available on Funimation. This is probably what's going to happen with the Funimation app, and it's going to do exactly the same thing and direct you to a Crunchyroll sign-up form. So Funimation's been seen as the bad guy for quite a few years because of, especially here in Australia, with how they handle the transition of Anime Lab. So it kind of makes sense that they're going to use the branding of the company, you know, that everyone seems to like, regardless of whether or not we agree with who wins the awards. Also, Crunchyroll subscriptions do include access to digital manga and a load of other stuff which is not accessible on Funimation, so it makes more sense to use that platform because it's already there and ready to go. They don't have to add that to Funimation's already boggy app, which isn't really working very well. So it's a bigger service, it's better, and because of that, Funimation will ultimately disappear along with Wakanim, Anime Lab, and anything else underneath their acquisition banner. Now, what does this mean for dubs? So Funimation is based in Texas and Crunchyroll is based in LA, and not getting political here, but LA dubs are done through unions and offer the voice actors much better wages as well. So in Texas, that's not a situation which is in place, and that does mean that pays are a lot lower for voice actors in Funimation's dubs. Generally, that means that they have to do multiple dubs, therefore rushing them at a lower quality to make the same amount of money as the actors who have been doing the voice acting for Crunchyroll. Now, that's not a blanket term, that's just what everyone online, all the voice actors who've been involved in it and from the industry and the union have been saying. Obviously, there will be some bias there. With the new CEO being based in LA, I'm hoping that means better pay for voice actors, because if they base the company in LA, then hopefully that means the voice actors in, Dallas will get paid the same as the voice actors in LA, which would be really good for the voice acting industry. It'll be really good for the quality for it. It'll also mean the dubs won't feel as rushed and they'll have additional time to do extra takes. So all up, this could be a very, very good thing for voice acting and dubbing. What's Wakanim? Well, unless you're in Europe, you probably haven't heard of Wakanim. They have an anime streaming service that started in 2009, and in 2015 they were bought out by Funimation when they started consolidating Funimation Global Group. Now, they're accessible in France, Germany, Scandinavia, Russia, and a fair chunk of the EU as well. They don't list the other countries directly because it's just, you can go on, and if you speak, German, French, or one of the Scandinavian dialects, they have subtitles available for it, along with English subtitles. They're basically going to also become part of Crunchyroll as well. Just like Funimation, the brand will disappear ultimately. Fun fact for Australian users, however, we had to change our watch list earlier this year when Funimation closed down Anime Lab. So we've moved that manually over to Funimation. And at this stage, we might have to manually move that watch list over to Crunchyroll if they haven't figured out a way to do it in the next 12 months. So that's not ideal, but hey, it's all in one place now. So is this a good thing? Well, that's a hard question to answer. Sony having monopoly on anime, and yes, it is a monopoly. Sure, we do have HiDive, Amazon, and Netflix providing anime services, but when you look at the sheer volume of anime that is going to arrive on Crunchyroll going forward, that means that Sony has the power to influence studios in Japan on what they want and how they want it delivered. That's not a good thing. And we've mentioned that before on the podcast. Highly recommend you go check out that as well to find out a bit more on it. But from Crunchyroll possibly being in charge, that's possibly the best thing out of this situation. Now, we don't know if it's going to be out of Crunchyroll or out of Funimation's headquarters in Dallas. I'm hoping it'll be in LA. I've got friends over there as well, and I think for them it would be a much better outcome. I mean, Crunchyroll has had much fewer incidents with the community. They've had much fewer issues with translations or changes made to translations. They tended to have avoided getting into anything political when they're doing translations or dubs, which is also a good and important thing of, retaining the original media that you're bringing across. And just as a general rule, better to have someone in, one of the major capital cities who has access to the rest of the media and marketing industry, such as Los Angeles, because in LA you're going to find a lot of different groups. You've got Hollywood, you've got the rest of California, which has all sorts of different media being brought out of it. So being connected with that will probably provide better opportunities for the company to get on board and get better deals. Whereas if they're in Dallas, no offense to those living in Texas, they're a bit more isolated from the industry without travel. And sure, there is an industry there, that's why Funimation is there. Well, they're based there because it was cheaper to do so at the time. It's not necessarily going to make them as able to get an impact and bid for those deals. Also, being based in LA's got the benefit of being in a closer time zone to Japan, so that'll also help as well. If it all moves to Texas, this will end up being Funimation cosplaying as Crunchyroll, and I don't think that will be good for anyone involved. It'll be bad for the voice actors, it'll be bad for the viewers, because that means the degradation of service to the levels that Funimation was providing. No offense to them. Only time's going to tell, but I'm hoping and I'm hopeful at this stage that Crunchyroll is going to remain in LA as the headquarters, and we'll see that Dallas is used as kind of like a secondary office where they can run some of their other stuff from, including their merchandising business and so on. So only time will tell, but we'll see. So how are you feeling about these changes? Are you a Funimation subscriber and looking to move all your stuff over? Or are you a Crunchyroll subscriber who's now got access to all this other stuff that you didn't have before? Let me know in the comments section below. I'd love to know your thoughts. And as always, all the references that we've used in this video are down below. You can find the press release from Crunchyroll there as well. If you've enjoyed what you've seen, consider hitting that subscribe button. We've got monthly videos, interviews with voice actors, and plenty more planned for this year. We're actually working on a new segment called Kawaii Tries, which we'll be releasing in the next few weeks, I believe. So stay tuned for that, along with obviously more anime explainers and maybe some more interviews shortly too. We also have a fortnightly anime podcast called Kawaii-Fi Radio, so follow the links in the video description to find us in your podcasting app of choice. A big thank you to our Patreon members who are supporting the channel as always. If you would like to support us and get access to some behind the scenes content and extras such as the podcast pre-show and outtakes from these videos, you can find the link to the Patreon below. And with that, I'm Kyle, and until next time, watch some anime.